Welcome to the Nerdarium. I'm your host, the Prancing Nerd, and let's get it right. I'm not crying, but you may be crying as you join me for another in our GOAT series, greatest of all time, where we take a look at a movie, a scene, a character, or whatever it is, and break down just what makes it so fucking wonderful. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a scene from Leon, also known as The Professional, my favourite Luc Besson movie, and I like most of his work. This is the scene that arguably introduced the world to the acting chops of Natalie Portman at the tender age of 12. Now, before we go any further, I'm just going to have to assume that you yourself are being chased by a hitman and may be confused and have forgotten how this all works. So, let me start off by welcoming you to the relative safety of my channel, where I'm going to have to charge you a like and subscribe. I tell Gary fucking Oldman you have his drugs and he calls in, well, you know who he calls in.
Benny, bring me everyone.
What do you mean everyone?
Leon was written and directed by Luc Besson in 1994 and stars Jean Reno, Natalie Portman, Gary fucking Oldman and Danny Aiello playing, as always, Danny Aiello, and it is a taut, often slow-moving yet intensely exciting, offbeat and personal story that explores the relationship between the hardened yet childlike Leon, played by Jean Reno, and a hardened child, Mathilda, played magnificently by Natalie Portman, whose lives are forced together where Mathilda's family are killed by the movie's bad guy, Gary fucking Oldman. He doesn't really feature in a major way in this scene, but I can't in good conscience leave him out, so I wanted to show you a couple of choice Gary fucking Oldman moments from this movie to tide you over. But while researching this video, I found out that apparently Gary fucking Oldman improvised almost all of his lines in almost all of his scenes, including the bait over and Matilda's dad sniffing antic scenes, because of course he did. He's Gary fucking Oldman. It also explained why his co-stars always look so uncomfortable in this movie. Anyway, there are a bunch of scenes in this movie that I could have focused on, as it's just filled with gem after gem. Although, having not seen this movie for a couple of years, while I was watching it and researching for this video, I was reminded that there is, frankly, a very weird undercurrent to Leon and Matilda's relationship that I'm just not going to get into in this clip, but let's just say that aspect of the movie has not aged well at all in the last 3 decades. So I'm just going to focus on what is often called the hallway scene, a pivotal moment when Leon saves Matilda's life. As a little background for context, Leon is a Corsican hitman who works as a contract killer for the mob, with Danny Aiello playing, as always, Danny Aiello, who serves as Leon's handler. There is an amazing opening scene which shows the deadly depths of Leon's talents as he decimates a private army to deliver a decidedly in-person message, and he's later shown to be as deadly and as ruthless as he is childlike and gullible, perhaps even a little slow or developmentally challenged. Despite being such a ruthless killer, he makes a surprisingly sympathetic character. Leon lives in the apartment down the hall from Matilda's family, and we see her interacting with him on the stairs, and there's an awesome moment when Leon dispenses some of life's hard lessons to her in a very simplistic and Leon kind of way.
Is life always this hard? Just when you're a kid?
Always like this.
Unfortunately for Matilda, her father is involved with a crazy and corrupt DEA agent, Gary fucking Oldman, and has gotten on his bad side by stealing from him. And so, as the most logical and reasonable punishment, the family are all executed in their homes, all except for Matilda, who's out grabbing milk for Leon. And that's where our GOAT scene really starts. We have an almost carefree shot of Matilda grabbing groceries, bringing back the stuff she had to get for herself but has also volunteered to get for Leon. And just a great call out here to the score by Eric Serra, which is just masterful in its tonality, and the layered drum beats really help with the escalating tension in this scene, to the point where now whenever I hear this music, the scene and the action is indelibly printed on my mind. Amazing stuff. When Matilda gets back onto her floor, she instantly realizes that something is not right, and Portman does such a great job with showing and not telling, as she takes in the situation and reacts to it. We see all the good humour being drained out in a second as the cold reality of what is going on obviously sinks in. We cut to Leon, who's been peeking from a makeshift spy hole in his door since he heard gunfire, and much of the rest of the scene is shown from that perspective, bringing us, the viewer, into Leon's world and frame of reference, watching Mathilda walk towards the heart of darkness. I always thought this was very cleverly done, sucking you right into the moment. Along with Mathilda, we see that her family have all been slaughtered, including her younger brother, who was, by her own admission, the only member of the family she liked, and knowing she will be killed if she walks into the apartment, she keeps moving down the hallway approaching Leon's place. Realising she's coming his way, Leo goes to the main spy hole, presumably to get a better field of vision. And this is where Portman's acting ramps up from good to great. I saw this when it came out and it was pre-internet and I knew nothing about this movie except that it was by the same director of Nikita and had one of the same actors. And frankly, Portman's performance throughout this movie, sad, touching, creepy as fuck, just marked her as somebody to watch. When I heard she'd been cast in the Star Wars prequels movies, I was in no way surprised, and frankly it's been a treat following her career ever since. Anyway, Leon's reaction to all of this is equally as awesome as Mathilda's. Uncertain what to do, caught off guard, pulled into something he didn't expect, and his twitchy reaction to all of this is just brilliant. Again, going back to her acting, the tears are one thing, but this small, childish, weak, impotent voice of desperation, I kind of remember that feeling from being a kid, albeit not on this scale. She's just amazing. What a talent. That moment is magnificent. Reminiscent of the light emanating from the open case in Pulp Fiction. When Leon opens the door for her, the sense of peace and calm that comes over Mathilda's face is breathtaking and heartbreaking. We go from seeing her crying and shaking in desperation to a moment where you can visibly see the relief choking her as the door opens. The calm acceptance as she waits for him to let her in is just beautiful. And then the tension ratchets up here again. Is Leon going to be forced to do something? The way he moves with his eyes and his gun never fails to tickle me. I love Reno in this role. When he's good, he's really good, like in this and around the same time like he was in Nikita.
J'ai pas l'habitude d'arrêter l'émission en cours, moi. Alors on va rien appeler du tout.
Let's just never talk about him in Rollerball. Actually, let's just never talk about that abomination that was 2002's horrific remake of Rollerball.
I will kill you myself! I will disappear your whole family!
Well, I totally lose my sense of humour when I have to talk about that movie.
On the shores of the blue.
I mean, I don't know why you keep bringing it up. That travesty was made by the same guy who gave us Die Hard.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah, this piece of shit movie included a chase scene at night, completely shot in night vision. I mean, what the f***? Anyway, the scene winds down with a little jump scare for the two killers facing off blind against each other on opposite sides of the door, when Mathilda unintentionally throws off suspicion by turning on the TV. And the scene ends with a lovely little moment of Gary fucking Oldman being Gary fucking Oldman.
Yo! I found it!
Bingo!
This is just such a great scene in so many ways. The direction, the cinematography, the casting, the acting, it's all just pitch perfect. Both Portman and Reno's performances are flawless throughout, and that moment of relief when Leon opens the door and saves Mathilda's life, it's just priceless. It sticks with me forever. What a goat scene. If you don't agree, call me a dickhead in the comment section below so I can tell you all the ways you're wrong and why your stepdad probably didn't love you.